Okay, we are live. Let's hit record. Okay, welcome everybody. Hi on our Facebook group, Becoming Radically Soul-Led Woman. I'm so excited to introduce our guest for today. First of all, happy Friday, everybody. I don't know from which part of the world you're joining us, but we've got Sarah from lovely Australia. It's evening her time. I'm in Cyprus. It's 3 p.m. and it's very, very hot. Very, very hot day today. Hot and sticky and humid. But it's beautiful. Um, we have a very, very exciting and interesting conversation that will be happening today with Sarah. And I'm going to just introduce her quickly and she will share her story with us. If you have any questions that come up for you along the way, please just pop them in the comments and we will try and pick them up as we go along. Otherwise, Sarah will definitely, respond and I will respond in the comments. The purpose of doing this live show for you and the monthly live show that I have going on in this group is to bring people into the group who are living their soul purpose and who are living their radical soul purpose. Sarah has quite a story um, from what I can understand, and she's going to share it with you and hopefully plant some seeds into your heart to be able to just get that, kick up the butt to, to realize that, we have no tomorrow, that you should be living your soul's journey, your soul purpose right now, right now. And there's no better time than actually now, especially the way the things are going on the planet. Okay, so I'm going to read Sarah's bio. Let me pick it up here. Okay, here we go. So Sarah Willoughby, am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are perfectly.
Okay, good. Is a transformation coach, best-selling author, speaker, energy healer, and infertility coach, empowering people to heal, love themselves, achieve more, and transform their lives. In 2009, following a disastrous IVF cycle that almost cost Sarah her life, Sarah followed her intuition, left behind her 10-year corporate HR career, and immigrated from the UK to Australia to begin a new life. I got goosebumps. Sarah is blessed to live by the sea near Melbourne with her 3 beautiful children who are her biggest blessings and greatest teachers. Wow. Okay. So just by that, you can already tell that there's a beautiful story behind Sarah. And, I'm going to open up the stage for her to share. Sarah, share with us your story and, what your biggest challenge has been so far that has led you to where you are today.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here and to meet your beautiful community. So, my story really began in 2009, but prior to that, I had been working in corporate HR. So, I'd sort of gone down the route that you are expected to follow. I'd gone to school, I'd spent 6 years studying at university, I'd worked my way up the corporate ladder, working for companies like, Rolls-Royce and Airbus, a plane manufacturer. And I enjoyed my job, but I always felt like something was missing. We were working with people, we were putting a band-aid over their problems and moving them on. There was a lot of stress and pressure in that environment. You can imagine, you're building a plane, you can't
Mm,
afford to make mistakes. And if you do, it's catastrophic. So
yeah.
not only was I helping to manage the stress and pressure of those managers that I'm dealing with and their, the senior teams and their teams, but also my own. So
Mm,
I'm dealing with my own stress and pressure. And I'm also at that point trying to have a second child. I'm trying to complete my family. So I had a 3-year-old son and I thought it would be easy. But
mm,
I was on this journey that took me to like the depths of trauma and just really having to dig deep to
wow.
understand why I was going through all of these challenges. So in 2009, we'd been told that the only way we could probably have another child was to go through IVF. And we'd had a lot of issues with the system, the NHS in the UK. I'd lost a lot of trust with them. So we went
Mm,
over to Norway to do this treatment. And we
wow.
thought, let's have a holiday while we're there. Let's, take the stress and pressure out of this
Yes.
process and
Yes.
let's have a holiday. But what actually happened was my body just reacted really badly to the drugs.
Wow.
And there was nothing that the doctors could do to stop that deterioration. So ever so slowly, my body started, the organs started to sort of shut down and stop
Oh
working
my
properly.
goodness.
And I put on about 20 kilograms of fluid within a very short period of time. I couldn't breathe. I had fluid on my lungs. I had an enlarged heart. My kidneys stopped working. And I really had that moment of looking at myself and saying, if this is it, if this is my last moment, have I lived my best life? Have I walked towards my fears? Have I been my best version? And the answer was no. The answer was, I had allowed my fear of following my soul, even though I knew where it was taking me. I'd allowed my fear to stop me from going down that path. So I made a deal with the universe. If I'm lucky enough, if I'm blessed enough to pull through, I will spend the rest of my life serving and committing to be my best version and helping women to do the same. And I was very fortunate that I did make a full recovery. And that part of the story, sort of the rest is history. I still went on and lost twins. I had a frozen embryo transfer and lost twins, and we'd made the decision to move over to Australia and start a new life. And we were very excited. This is how it was meant to be, family of 5 moving to Australia. And then I lost one twin and then the other. And I was still determined. Australia is calling me. I need to go. And it was in the middle of the UK recession. We had no jobs to come to. We knew nobody. And we'd only spent a couple of days in Melbourne 5 years prior. But I knew that this is where I needed to be. And from the point that I arrived here, my life just went into flow. And I felt like I was home. I absolutely felt like I was home. So, yeah, it was a pretty amazing journey. And then within 6 weeks of being within Australia, I fell pregnant with my
goodness.
child.
Wow.
And she's almost 11 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful story. And it just like rings really loud and clear about how when you follow your intuition and you follow that soul voice, you followed that, get to Australia. You didn't know why, didn't know how it was going to work out, but you followed it and you trusted. And then it was like the piece of the puzzle clicked in. So
Absolutely.
Powerful.
It was the first time that I truly understood what it means to have your life in flow, to feel that your life is in flow. Everything else I realized looking back, I'd been pushing. I'd been looking to achieve the next thing, the next job, the next
drive.
the next goal, looking outside of myself, externally, for all of those things to fill me up, to complete me, to make me feel good about myself, to be accepted by society.
Yeah.
And that's not why we're here.
Yeah.
Why we're here.
It's incredible how the biggest challenges really are the greatest gifts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And people say to me, wow, you were so unlucky. And I say, actually, I am so blessed.
I can so relate. Yeah. I can relate.
Kick up the bum.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful for that. And if I hadn't have been through that, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I wouldn't have 3 beautiful children who, like I said, are the biggest blessings, but also my greatest teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. And you wouldn't have had that embodiment of that whole life lesson and, that embodiment of what it means and what it feels like to really follow your soul and be in that space.
Yeah. And just to trust it.
Exactly. Yes. I can totally relate about what you're saying about getting a kick up the butt and a wake up call. I remember one of my biggest wake up calls was when we were driving home from a family picnic in the forest. It was local, and we had such a beautiful, amazing day. It was the day before my birthday, and Sophia, I'm on the line. Minute for so long. That's it. The photos of the Thank you. Minute for so long. Sorry.
Bye.
Thank you. So, and we were driving back home. It was about a 45-minute drive back home, and we were in a car accident, a big car accident. The whole family, the 4 of us. It was a major accident, but none of us got hurt. but still was just, the car was a write-off. Ambulance arrived, fire trucks, and the road traffic was closed from both ends. We made the news. And,
For all the wrong reasons.
yes, for all the wrong reasons. But then we stayed the night in hospital, and the next day was my birthday. And as people were calling me to wish me happy birthday, and they were hearing the news of what had happened, some people would say, "Oh my gosh, it's such a I won't swear, it's such a horrible way to spend your birthday." And I was like, "No, it's actually, I'm so glad I'm alive, and that on my birthday, and I'm not experiencing something else like grief or loss that could have happened over that accident." So I can relate to that that gratitude and that place of feeling that everything works out for the greater good and always in your favor. So you're an author as well.
Yes.
Can you share a bit about your books? What have you worked on?
Yeah, so part of my soul journey was I always knew that I had books inside me, but I didn't know what I was supposed to be writing about. And many years ago, I was working with an American spiritual mentor, and he said to me, "When you're ready, let me know. And I've got this connection to this website where you can start publishing articles." And I was like, "Well, I'm ready now. Send it to me."
Yeah.
So I remember at the time I just started understanding more about vulnerability. So I've done a lot of work around Dr. Brené Brown's work with understanding the power of vulnerability and shame and courage. And I really encourage people to check her out if they haven't already.
She's amazing. Yes.
Her TED Talk is incredible. And I wrote my very first article that I wrote was inspired by her, and it was called Surf the Wave of Life, and it was about being vulnerable. And that article was published straight away, and I'd been told not to expect that. I was told, you'll probably have to submit a number of articles. I was so vulnerable. The irony of that situation was I went into this big fear of, oh no, people are going to read my article. What happens if they don't like it? My ego kicked in,
the attachments,
Exactly. So that's where it really began. So that was in 2014, and then I wrote articles for that website, which at the time was Simple Reminders, but is now Media. And I remember still feeling a bit frustrated, thinking, I've got this book inside me, but I don't know what it is. And then I just got the call from Spirit, just start writing.
Wow.
And then one day I was like, okay, I need to write my story, because who else can tell my story apart from me? So the book that I'm getting ready to publish is it's a teaching memoir. So it's my journey through secondary infertility. So the first part is the memoir. And then the second part, all the tools and techniques that I used to help me to get through that challenging time.
Wow.
So that's sort of in progress. And then the other book that I was a co-author for is Business Life and the Universe, Volume 3, which became a #1 international bestseller December 2020, so last year.
Awesome. Yeah,
so that's been really exciting. So that was on my to-do list, so tick, got that done.
Congratulations. Beautiful.
And then I had a dream the other night with the title of my next book, so the information came through to me, so I'm like, okay, I haven't even got my second one out yet. So
beautiful. I love that. But that's how you live a soul-led life. I mean, everything gets given to you, and provided you're open to receive and listen and see the signs, I think we always have that guidance available to us.
Completely agree. It's incredible. When I actually started, and I encourage people to do this, to actually start journaling and write on the guidance that they're receiving. And at first they might feel that it's just their imagination kicking in. But when I recently sat down and looked through and read all the journals that I'd kept over the last sort of 10 years, it was amazing how many things came true, how many things that at the time I had no idea how they were going to fall into place. There were some crazy things in there. I was like, well, I've got this information being given to me. I'm not really sure how it's going to work out, but I'm just going to write it down. And I look back and I'm like, okay, this is pretty powerful stuff. And it makes me smile.
So powerful, so beautiful. I love witnessing, the people actually having this life experience and putting their tools into practice and being a living example of it. So it's really, really beautiful. Would you like to share some of your tools and techniques that you use in your daily life, just to give people a bit of a taste of what it means to live this way?
Yeah, so the first thing that I hugely recommend and I'm very passionate about is meditation. And the reason why is that a couple of years prior to me going into intensive care, I had started learning meditation to help me to deal with the stress I was experiencing at work, and also dealing with, miscarriage and trauma and grief. And I know categorically, if I hadn't have learned meditation, I would not be here today, because I would not have been able to cope with the physical, mental, and spiritual trauma that I went through during that time and in my recovery. So that's why every client I work with, I talk about meditation. And some people are really resistant to it because they're like, well, I can't, my mind is just always so busy. I can't sit quietly. And I'm like, well, that's the point. And you're a perfect candidate.
Exactly.
Let's just start with 2 minutes.
You need to start now.
Exactly. Let's give it a go. You feel the resistance rising.
Yeah.
But I think when I first started learning meditation, we were given the advice that, it's 30 minutes every day, sitting cross-legged.
Yes, that can be like, and I think also we were given the wrong impression of meditation, of what it has to look like, and I think it's evolved so much for each person.
It really has, and it's less, it's less woo-woo now. It's more accepted. There's so much research that's been done. Deepak Chopra's research around 8 weeks, people meditating for 8 weeks, and the fact that the brains have been restored in that 8 weeks, they experience less stress, they feel calmer. So the research and the science is there now to support this. So I meditate every day, and when I talk to people about it, they're like, well, I haven't got time. So we talk about the fact that just 2 minutes every day, just 2 minutes focusing on your breath, closing your eyes, connecting to your breath is so incredibly powerful and helpful. So that's where we start, and then build it up gradually. Don't set yourself up to fail. Don't have the expectation you're going to do half an hour, straight away, and then you don't, and then you criticize yourself because you don't achieve it. Just commit to 2 minutes every day, and if you can't find 2 minutes every day, then I think there's something wrong, in your scheduling of life. We've all got 2 minutes. So that's a really beautiful free resource that doesn't discriminate between those who have and those who don't. We can do it anytime, anywhere. You can do it on public transport on the way to work, set an alarm so you don't fall asleep. On a park bench at lunchtime. I appreciate there's a lot of restrictions going on at the moment, and people are limited in where they can be and what they can do. But I really think that meditation is life-changing. So that's something that I do. I also really encourage people to go outdoors into nature, and that changed my life as well. I didn't realize how connected I was to nature until I went to university. And my final year at university, I was living right next to the ocean, and I was doing my final exams, and it just calmed me. And so I've always felt called to live by the sea, and it wasn't until I moved to Australia that I've been really blessed to be able to and just seeing the sea as I drive my children to school. I know we're not down. Is beautiful for all of us, watching the sunset. Beautiful. And again, we've all got access to nature in some capacity, even if it's just bringing a plant from outside and putting it on a balcony. We've all got access to some form of nature. So I feel very calm the minute I go outside. It changes our energy. It just helps us connect.
I agree with you. I found that even like with what type of connection, like if you want to be in nature or what your body actually needs, even you get to follow your intuition with what that is. Like many times when I can feel myself pushing, and I just I pull back and I say, okay, what do I need right now? And I'll get the download. Then I just go outside into the sun, and I'll go outside, I'll lay my palms out, I'll look up into the sun, and I'll just receive and just be in that space of doing nothing. It's also it's like a meditation as well. You just like go outside and you're in nature and you just pause and you focus on the breath, and it just instantly renews me and instantly like resets my frequency and my mind and my energy, and I can come back with a clearer mind and like really, really focused on on the right energy and from the right energy space. So yeah, I think we all need to like come back into what's available to us through nature, through Mother Earth, and our whole galaxy, and just start to retune into that. And there's so much love and wisdom, and so much that we get to tap into. And we take the time,
Yeah, and we take the time to do it, but like you said, what we gain back is that we can then become more productive and achieve more. It's like if I'm sat editing my book and I have a mental block or it's just not flowing, I can sit there thinking, oh, but I just need to finish this chapter. And it takes me another hour to
pushing
finish
and
it.
pushing, yeah.
I'm pushing against it. But if I go outside, something shifts. And also an extension to that, you talked about it's like a meditation. Well, we can do a walking meditation in nature.
Yes.
We can do that. We can embrace that. We can lie on our back and look at the clouds and sort of get into that dreamlike state. And also grounding and earthing has been amazing for me. So for people who don't know, grounding and earthing is when you take socks and shoes off and you are literally drawing the energy up from the core of the earth, and it helps to re-energize you. It shifts your energy almost instantly. And when you look at your children and they take their socks and shoes off all the time and they're running around, they naturally do it. They naturally know. They don't know why, they don't know why they're doing it, but they their soul knows that it's good for them. And then we step in and like, oh, put your shoes back on. There might be glass. You might cut yourself. You might get dirty.
Fear.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's one of the best things that I do. I often, particularly in summer, I just walk around with no socks and shoes on. And I encourage my clients to do that as well. So these are all things that are free, that are easy, that are accessible, that don't take too long. But what we get back from it energetically is really
Even like as moms, when we get triggered, I often like find myself in the past when the kids were younger and it was a little bit harder. Sometimes I find myself wanting to just throw their heads against the wall, in those crazy moments of desperation and overwhelm. Obviously, I didn't do it, but what really, really helped me was that like split second of consciousness where you have a choice, and I would make the choice, okay, step back, create literally press the pause button and connect to the breath. So connecting back into my body and connecting back into my breath, which literally allows a gap of a space and in time and energy and space between the situation and me. And then something new would come into that space. Like maybe it would be, I don't know, like a thought of, it's not even that serious what's going on, what's happening, what's going on with you, the child, just, the child, things like that. So I this all hooks into, again, the mindfulness and meditation and being present, and connecting back into your body or into earth or wherever source that gives us other choices. It actually opens up other doors and opportunities of how you get to respond to your circumstances and your situations. And as a mom, it's like saved me many, many times.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And sometimes I would say to my children, just, you need to go outside. And if they won't go outside and they're being really belligerent, I'll be like, right, well, then I'm going outside. One of us is going outside right now, and you're not going to follow me, but one of us is going to have that space and we're going to go outside.
We need to create that. Yeah, we need to know that we actually need to relearn how to what is it called? Like, not even manage, but just like understand our emotions and how we actually get to learn from them.
Yeah. And the difference between, you already mentioned it, the difference between responding and reacting. And I didn't understand that. But when we learn meditation and when we're connected to self, we are responding, not reacting from a state of emotion.
Yeah.
And it's always a better outcome when we respond.
Even like something just clicked as you were saying the word responding. I think in responding, we also are being more responsible with our energy and how we show up. So that's an interesting link there. Okay, cool. So I would also like to ask you, probably it's going to go, might go deep, might not. What is your why? Like, what's your why? What's your bigger vision that you have for your life? And
Yeah.
how's that going for you?
So my biggest vision is that I really want to help break the silence surrounding infertility. There is
Mm,
silence and isolation and shame and misunderstanding. And I really struggled with that at a time when you need people the most.
yeah.
You're not supposed to talk about it. And it's a very personal, private subject.
Yes.
Yet it affects so many people. We know it affects about 1 in 7 couples all around the world.
Wow.
And 1 in 5 in different countries. So we all know somebody. That's the reality. At
Yeah.
some point in our lives,
Yeah,
we
we
all
do.
know somebody who's struggled to have children in whatever
Yep.
capacity, who has been through loss and grief, and yet we don't talk about it. So I want to be instrumental in helping to change that. So that's why I'm sharing my very raw, vulnerable story with the world,
Mm-hmm.
and will continue to do that. And I want to be able to support couples moving forward, with their journeys, and help them get the right support, knowing that infertility, it's that connection between your mind, body, and spirit. If
Mm-hmm.
one of those things is out of balance, then everything's out of balance. It isn't just the physical.
Yes.
And I didn't understand that at the time.
Mm,
Actually, when I look back at my journey through secondary infertility, it was a journey to self-love. That's what it
mm,
was. It wasn't about having a child or not having a child. It was about, that was the vehicle that got me to be who I am today, to be my best
wow.
version, to live with authenticity. It was just, that was the role that played out in my life that I needed to go through.
Yeah.
Um, and then, just on a wider scale, I just want to help people to be their best version. I want to be my best version. I want to show up as my best self each and every day, but also
Mm-hmm. Of
forgive myself when I don't get it right, because we're human
course.
and we make
Yep.
mistakes. And,
Yep.
just catching myself sooner and helping people to do the same. And I want to help people to heal their past, to heal their hurts, to realize the impact that has on our lives when we don't do that work.
Mm-hmm.
To love themselves. So many of my clients don't love themselves. When I ask them, do you love yourself? And then I ask them, can you look in the mirror and can you say, I love you?
Yeah.
Louise Hay's work, the
Yes.
mirror work, most people can't, and most people are brought to tears.
Oh,
So we have all these people in the world, many who don't even like themselves.
yeah.
And we're all trying to put on these masks and show up as this version of ourselves, and we don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
So I really want to help people to live with authenticity and to live a soul-led life, to follow everything that they've got inside them. We have everything inside us that we need. Every answer to every problem exists within ourselves. And when we realize that, there are no limits in life. We can live with this huge potential and really understand our own purpose and why we're here, and be more and do less. We're human beings, not human doings.
Yes. Oh, I like that. I like that. It sounds so it's powerful, and there's so much purpose in what you shared. And I believe that if each one of us recognizes our purpose, and sometimes you hear these statements come in, you need to find your purpose, you need to go and discover your purpose, but people don't really realize that their purpose is already in them, it's already within them. And I think it's just a matter of really just digging inside a little bit to discover what really brings you joy.
Yes.
And then starting to do more of that, which will lead you to realizing, oh, okay, so this is why I'm here, this is what I'm meant to be doing, organically, without that push.
Yeah. And
So
I
it's
think we
really,
don't give
really
ourselves permission, sorry. I don't think we give ourselves permission to live with joy. It's almost like we see that as the last thing on the to-do list, isn't it? We have all the chores and all the things that we need to do, and we need to be this person to everybody else. And at the bottom of that, we might do those things that actually bring us joy, that fill us up, that we're passionate about. And we
which
often
it should be the other way around, actually. This is what I teach my clients as well. I mean, fill your cup, do what brings you joy, and then that joy will actually be filtered into your work, into your business, into your kids, your family. But you have to prioritize yourself, and we've been taught that is selfish.
Yes.
So this is actually what you're talking about, the journey of self-love, which you were forced to come into yourself, and with such a big challenge which has brought you to this beautiful, level of service in the world. And I would not want all the people in the world to go through such hardship and challenges to find their joy and to find their self-love. But many times it's those darkest moments that really, really force you to stand up.
Yeah, and to find ourselves. It's in the darkness that we often find ourselves, for sure.
Yes, really, really beautiful. There was something else I wanted to ask you. In relation to your children, because a lot of our members in the group, their parents, their moms. In relation to your children, how, because of your challenge and because of what you've experienced and this whole, new experience of self-love that you've embodied and you are now a model of, how do you teach that to your kids, or how do you model that to your kids, and how do they reflect that back to you?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And my children, as I've said, are my greatest teachers. But I know that they often learn by watching who we are and how we act in life. So not just our words, but what we actually do. So for me, self-love and demonstrating that to my children has been actually about putting myself first more often, giving myself permission to go away for the weekend and recharge, going on a retreat for a week, having time out, saying no to too many overcommitments, with them or with myself. Being a lot more present with myself means that I can be present with my children. So I'm a much better version of myself because I'm giving to myself. So every afternoon I will do a meditation, and I know that I am a much better mum.
Oh yes. Very nice. Yeah.
When I pick my children up at school, they've got the best version of me until they go to bed. And I know if I hadn't been through what I've been through, I would have seen my children as a bit of an inconvenience, moving forward. I wouldn't have appreciated them in the same way. I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I would have got frustrated by all the things that they stopped me doing rather than the joy that they bring to my life.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment also that self-love and showing them about self-love is actually by following my purpose. And at the moment that looks like, having to spend huge amounts of time writing. And sometimes that means that I don't have as much time for them at particular points in time. But then finding other ways, connecting with them in other ways. And so there's flexibility there too, because I want my children to know, I want them to follow their passion. I want them to know that if they follow their passion, then they'll never feel like it's work. I don't feel like what I do is work.
I know.
I love what I do. And I feel so blessed to be able to love what I do every day.
My mom, we have such different mindsets, and it's okay, it's beautiful. I held a summit, about my summit that I had last month, and the summit it's a lot of grinding, and it takes time, and then on the day it's a full day thing. And she called me at the end of that day, and I just told her about my day and how amazing it was, and she was like, but in Greek, of course, but sweetie, you must be so tired and you must be so exhausted. You must stop doing these things. No, I feel amazing. Exactly. I was in such a buzz. And I am. And even if I have back-to-back client calls, it's just such an amazing feeling. And it's so different because I was in corporate as well. And I left after 15 years. And I couldn't wait for Fridays to come. And I couldn't wait. And I hated Mondays because the weekend was over and I had to go back to that, that grinding. But now with this service, and I was just looked at the clock and it was 3:33. With this, living your soul purpose and living through your soul and being the best version of yourself, which gives permission for others to do the same, and our kids and our spouses and our family. It's just so it's another level of living. I actually can't remember how life used to be before living this way, and I was trying to contemplate how I was making decisions or how I was living, and I can't actually connect to that that version of myself. I remember my life, but I can't really connect with them, like the feelings of living in that life.
Yeah.
Everything has shifted so much. And of course, through the inner work and, you know, the work that we do on ourselves on a daily basis and the layers that come up. But just knowing that living through your soul, living your purpose, and it brings you joy, that's what everybody should be doing. And giving this message to our kids, that's like the ticket right there, you know, that they have permission at the start to live their purpose, because they see mom and we put up our boundaries, and we know that we need to give to ourselves, and we know it's okay to say no, which then teaches them to say no, right? And not become people pleasers for the wrong reasons, and then put themselves like at the last, you know, at the bottom of the list, which is what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be a perfectionist and a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how stressful that was.
Yeah.
Anxiety that caused me. I'm now a recovering perfectionist, is what I call myself. Ever working on it.
So incredible how, you know, the infinite possibilities of who we can be, you know, the versions that we can be, the versions that we choose to be, and what we choose in the end. Like, because we can always choose, you know, this or that. It's always a choice. And I think when we have this knowing that, you know, you every moment of your day is a choice of whether you want to choose to align with your fears and your anxiety or your perfection and, you know, the reasons behind that, or do you choose to align with your authentic self and your truth and, you know, your joy.
Yeah. And it's just about taking that first step. It's about beginning. I think we often don't really know where to start. So we don't take that first step and we get overwhelmed by the bigger picture. How am I going to get there? How am I going to know? What happens if I make the wrong choice? Am I going to go down the wrong road? But when we take that first step, the next step appears and then the next one. So we don't need to know the end result. So I encourage everybody to take a small step today. Start today. There's something calling you.
I love that. Yes. Chunking it down just to the present moment. What brings you joy right now? You know, how can you connect to your body right now? Like, just doing what you can today to feel more in alignment with peace inside of you and with that harmony. Because like you said, if we look at the mountain, then it's just like overwhelming. And people won't they won't even bother. So beautiful. I think we could talk all day about this. Okay, so you've given a beautiful free gift to our audience. We will drop the links in the comments when we're finished. It's a breathing meditation, everybody. So you don't have an excuse of not knowing how to do a breathing meditation. Sarah has given us a free gift, and you'll be able to opt into her community and be able to reach her for any questions. We're going to drop down your website as well, or your social media links as well. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, especially regarding anyone struggling with infertility, right? So it's a sensitive subject, but we get to shine light on it, and we get to bring light and self-love into the picture as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think your journey would have been different if you were who you are now? Like, what do you think would be different?
So how would my journey been different if I was who I am now then?
Back then, yes.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think I would have struggled with infertility. I would have had the tools and the insight and the knowledge to understand what was happening. I would have listened to my body and the signs that my body was giving me every single day.
Wow.
I wouldn't have. I hated my body for so long. You know, I've got PCOS, so I have an underlying medical condition, and I was focused on all the things that it didn't do for me. And then what happened was my body. You know, my body saved my life. It recovered with no underlying issues, which was incredible. And I fell in love with my body for the first time. It was like, wow, look at at all the things that my body does for me.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is incredible. So I don't think I would have. I would have actually experienced infertility. I'm not saying that that's going to be the same for everybody.
Yep.
I think there's lots of other layers and things that come into
Yes.
it. But for me, I would have had more patience. I would have left the corporate world, so I wouldn't have had such stress going on at the same time. Trusted the universe to provide the next job that did come along after I was brave enough to leave, that wasn't anywhere near as stressful and was better paid and much nicer environment. So yeah, I would have, but I would have missed out on the journey, wouldn't I? So everything is exactly how it needed to be, and I would go through it, and I put all those puzzle pieces together in exactly the same way. And I think I had to learn that really hard lesson. I had to really understand what it meant to look fear in the face, and then to feel it in my body when I had overcome it, and to take that leap of faith and to move over here and to start a new life and give my children the most beautiful outdoor lifestyle experience that they could have, and just connect with nature. I think.
Yeah. What can you share with our viewers around the fear factor? Like, because making such a big decision to leave a country and go somewhere where you don't know anybody and you want to start fresh, and there's so many like fear factors involved. How can you help someone to like really just trust? What was it for you that helped you to make that decision, like in blind faith?
I think I just really opened my heart. I surrendered, and I became a much more present in my decision making. So I became very adept at understanding that if my body was giving me an almighty yes and an excitement straight away about something, through each part of the immigration process, and then the second response was, oh, but what about this and this, and and this might go wrong. I learned that the first response was the right response. And that the rest was ego. The rest was my ego doing its job, trying to step in to protect me, to keep me safe.
So glad you've highlighted that.
To keep me in the what was comfortable but uncomfortable.
It was a known discomfort.
Exactly. So it's that we feel more comfortable because we know what we're dealing with. Whereas when we're going out into the big wide world, we don't understand what we're dealing with. So it's crazy. Through my mindfulness training, I learned very much about walking towards our fears, and actually the resistance that we put up to the things that we're scared of feels more uncomfortable than what it is that we're actually working towards. So I would start testing it out on smaller things. So not that big life decision, like, okay, I don't want to prepare this presentation for work because I'm scared about doing the presentation, because it's not a particularly well received subject. HR was never particularly well loved in the corporate world, and you get a lot of criticism. So, okay, I'm gonna put that off. I'm gonna procrastinate over it. I'm gonna put it off. What I would then experience was, okay, let's just sit down and let's just do it. So there was a lot of mindset stuff that came in. Just sit down and do it. Okay. And then I'd reflect. Was that as bad as I thought that it was going to be? And I remember my grandfather saying to me when I was a child, I remember exactly where I was. I was about 7 years old, and we were looking out of my lounge window. And he said to me, and I was worried about going to play tennis during the school days, having tennis lessons, because I wasn't that good at tennis and everybody else there was. And he said to me,
and this is a typical child experience, right? Something that any child would experience with any sport or any peer pressure.
And he said to me, nothing is ever as bad as it seems. I always remembered that, and I've actually dedicated the first part of my book to him. You were right. You were right. Nothing is ever as bad as it seems. The fear around stuff is worse than actually often the situations themselves that we find ourselves in. And I think what the last 18 months has shown to people is that we need to we just need to connect with ourselves to help
Mhm.
us with fear. There's been
Yeah.
so much fear in the
I
world.
know.
It still is. You know, we've just entered just yesterday our 5th lockdown.
I know. I heard. I've got a client in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, this is our
Yeah.
174th day in lockdown. And
Wow.
so we're just in this perpetual cycle of fear and uncertainty, and
Yes.
we
Yeah.
have to take it back to, what can I do right now in this moment? What can I control? And we can't control much, I've realized the hard way.
Yes.
We can't control much in
Yes.
life, but we can be in charge of how we respond.
Yeah.
So let's focus on what we can actually change within our, within this moment. And I think that helps us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I've loved talking to you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, ladies, and we don't have any gentlemen in here, so it's just ladies. If you watch the replay, just do a hashtag replay. And if you have any questions for Sarah, pop them in the comments. She'll be in the group and she'll respond. Not today, because you're going to go to bed now, probably.
I'm actually up. I'm actually up till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning because my son is doing some Tony Robbins training.
Oh, wow, cool.
And it's in America, and it's 4 nights.
Oh, wow.
10 hours straight for 4 nights in a row.
That's so cool.
I will be up. So
how old is your son? And he's doing this training?
15. It's
wow.
leadership training. So yeah,
that's
there's
great.
500 of them from all around the world getting together via Zoom.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, enjoy that time with your son, and I feel that it's very it's great that even at that age, he's exposing to that type of personal development and that level of awareness and training. It's the new leaders of the world, and it's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Alrighty. Okay, guys, that's a wrap. Sarah, thank you so much again. It's been great having you, and we'll see you all again on our next live show. Okay? Ciao. Bye.
Bye.